This is the Websites.ca podcast, where we help Canadian small businesses build and maintain an effective website and online presence.
Hello, everybody. It's Sean Corbett again, Websites.ca Marketing. Kind of a special episode for you today. We have our first ever returning guest. It's actually from our most popular past episode. So we're going to welcome back on the show, Daniel Moskovic. He's the owner of More Hot Leads. And what we really want to do today is just have a nice sort of high-level discussion on mastering search engine results for your business. Daniel, I want to hit the ground running with a two-part question. So here goes. Yeah, so here goes question one. Is there anything right now in the SEO game that worked, say 1 to 2 years ago, that you would, just kind of lost its juice and you wouldn't recommend people doing anymore? And then the follow-up question to that is, if you could pick one specific SEO strategy or asset to focus on right now, today, super effective, what would it be?
Okay, so first of all, it's great to be a return guest here on the show, and I'm excited to dive in. For your first question, one thing that has worked well in the past that is not working as well these days would be adding keywords to a Google My Business, or now it's called a Google Business Profile title, the name. We used to do this, it's somewhat of a, it was somewhat of a cheat code a few years ago. We did it because we knew it worked. We would add some keywords to our clients' Google Business Profile names, and we would see pretty great and quick results. Nowadays, it seems like Google has taken away that factor, or it has less juice than it did a few years ago. So there are definitely some new ranking factors that it looks like are happening. And then in terms of your second question, the one thing that all businesses should focus on is strategizing how to structure their website and building content around that strategy, because it all starts with the website structure. And the better you structure your website, the less backlinks and the less off-page stuff that you have to get as well. Not to say that you don't need that at all, I'm just saying you're going to need less in the long run. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here when it comes to website structure. You want to make sure that you have your homepage that is geared towards either your brand or your general main topic. And then you want to have sub pages beneath your homepage that are going to be your top level service pages or category pages, depending if you're an e-commerce or a service provider. And then you're going to have support pages below that. So if you are a service provider, let's say, you're doing roofing, roofing would be your top level service page, and a support page beneath that would be flat roofing, tin roofing, roofing tiles, hot roofing, etc. So the types of roofing would be those sub support pages. And if you're an e-com store, let's say you're selling ice cream, you could have ice cream as the top level category, and then you can have different flavors of ice cream. You can have ice cream cones, and you can have different types of ice cream cones as supporting pages. You can have yogurt and then different types of yogurt, etc. So you want to make sure that you really plan out how and map out how you're going to structure the website and create content within those, I like to call them topic clusters. So every topic that you're discussing, if you offer more than roofing services, let's say you do roofing, you do flooring, you do plumbing, you do contracting, you do remodeling, etc. So you want to make sure that each of those topics has a group of pages around that main service or category or product as well. And then once you have that content, you want to make sure you write blog posts about that topic too, and send links to each of those pages within that topic cluster. So that's what we're doing right now with a lot of our client sites. We're focusing mostly on content writing on their sites. And then once those pages are live, then we're promoting them with certain backlinks like Google My Business or Google Business Profile posts, press releases, social media shares, some guest posts as well, but we're finding we need a lot less of that if we are structuring the content properly from the beginnings, as I mentioned.
So when you have, say, like you said, vanilla ice cream, right? That's a little child page of a parent topic, ice cream. And then you might write a blog post about the process of making vanilla ice cream. And when it says vanilla ice cream, it's going to link back to that main page. So when you go offsite and do the articles and stuff, like you said, are those also linking back to the vanilla ice cream page? Or are they linking to the blog post?
So as long as your internal linking is right, it doesn't really matter. We do both. I want to make sure that the vanilla ice. We want to make sure the vanilla ice cream page gets links, the ice cream page gets links, and the blog post gets links.
Okay.
When we're doing our linking for those blog posts, we're definitely sharing the blog posts in the press releases and the GMB posts, but we're also making sure that we get some links built to each of those main pages as well. So like I said, as long as you have your internal links in the right way, where the blog posts are pointing to the vanilla ice cream page and also the ice cream page, maybe the vanilla ice cream page is also pointing to the blog post about vanilla ice cream as well, then your link juice is flowing where you need it to be. So it doesn't really matter where you point those links. All three of them would help. It is important to make sure that most of the pages you want to promote do have some form of links. And again, those links can be free links where you're just doing like social bookmarks. They can be, a post on social media, that's still a link. It can be, a press release, which, there are tools to use for that as well. And then it could be paid links and guest posts and things like that.
So when you're setting up a new page, you better make sure that it doesn't exist in a vacuum outside your site. It better be part of the web in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly what we do. I mean, we want to make sure that our process, the way we do it is we, dive into their existing site. What content do they already have? What services do they provide? What pages are they missing? What do competitors have? We take all that information and we kind of make a mind map or a visual site map, we call it. And we plan out how we're going to structure the site. Then we determine what pages are going to be the most priority pages, and we'll focus on those first, and then create pages as we go along in our SEO cycle with a client. We typically like to create all of the pages within one topical stack first before moving on to a next one. However, we're going to make sure that we create all those top level pages first, because you want to make sure you have all the top level pages done, and then you worry about the bottom level pages on one topic, then moving on to the next topic, and so on and so on.
That's interesting, because in theory then, obviously in practice, you'd probably want to add more copy, but in theory, you could take someone's site and not have them add any more content, which so many businesses struggle with, but just restructure the existing content along the lines of what you said, and then go around and do the linking and be organized with it. And that could be a nice, easy win for an existing website.
Oh, that's a dream. That's a dream of that, right? To have all that content already created and just have to with an internal linking. That doesn't happen that often. A lot of the time when we're doing audits of sites, I mean, it depends how established the business is, but a lot of the times we're doing audits of sites, I think the biggest mistake we see a lot of the time is that people just have like one service page. And it's like their service page, these are all the services we provide, but they don't have individual service pages per service. And they definitely don't have those sub-service pages that I was mentioning as well. So the types of services. So
I'm very out of date on this topic, so you'll have to bring me up to speed and forgive me here. When I think of, when I was into SEO years ago, the idea was like, you don't want duplicate content too much. And so when you're talking about organizing them, I'll just call it sort of parent-child kind of organization.
Absolutely.
So if you have like plumbing services, right, then it's emergency plumbing, this kind of plumbing, that kind of plumbing, whatever it is, you're saying that your parent page is not just going to be a branch. The parent page is actually going to have content on it that might sound similar-ish to the specific pages?
Absolutely. Our view on duplicate content on the same site is try to make it as unique as possible, but we've gotten away and gotten results with using basically the same content on these pages and just changing a few things up. My understanding from the duplicate content is they don't want you plagiarizing other people's content. If it's your own site, as long as it stands out as a unique page to Google. So the way that we do that is, you want to make sure that your title tag is unique, your H1 tag is unique. Maybe you have a couple paragraphs that are unique to that page so that it has a different purpose than the other page. We're finding that works. Same thing goes for location pages. So I mentioned, sub-service pages. We're doing the same thing on our clients' sites, but with location pages. So we focus on one main location that they want to go after, and we create sub pages, which are neighborhood pages. So we basically clone the home page, which is typically our main location page, and then we create neighborhood pages for each of those neighborhoods they want to target as well. And the only thing we're changing out is we're just switching the city with the neighborhood, and we're adding a paragraph or two about the neighborhood, things to do in the neighborhood and things like that.
So this is a terrible example on my end because I wasn't prepared, but I mean, you could have, big city name, main contact page, and then secondary page, Chinatown, secondary page, Little Italy. Well, I mean, obviously neighborhoods have more specific names than that, but that's all I can come up with on the top of my head. Is that basically what you would do?
That's exactly what we do. Yeah. So we make sure that the main city page links down to the neighborhood pages. The neighborhood pages link to each other, the ones that they're close to, and link up to the main city page. So it's basically kind of creating another topic cluster there, but of the location. It just adds some more relevance in Google's eyes that they do serve that area, they serve that city, and they also serve these specific areas. We've seen greater results in expanding our maps ranking reach when we do create these pages, because Google then says, okay, they actually do service this area, even though it's 25-minute drive away from their location, they do service clients in this area.
Would you embed a Google map on each of those area subpages as well?
Exactly. So what we do on the main city page, we embed the Google map of the client's business, Google My Business, so the Google business profile now, and as well as a Google map of the city. And then on the sub pages, we'll do the same thing, but instead of the city, we will do the Google map of that area.
So interesting. Okay.
We also link to a few Google Map pages of things to do in that area. And when we get that information, we actually get it from Google. So I'll do a Google search of like a specific neighborhood in a city, and Google will tell me here are the things to do in that neighborhood. If you go into Google Maps, there's like attractions. I go to that tab. I find the things that Google is telling me that are relevant because it thinks it's relevant. So I'm taking the information that Google is giving us, and I'm putting it on the page and say, hey, if you want to go to this area, check out this restaurant or this park, etc. And it definitely doesn't look that good but it works. So we always put that content at the bottom of the page. And typically what we're doing right now is we're also hiding that content in an accordion so it doesn't show to the average user.
Okay, right. So like a little, toggle. If you're in this neighborhood and if you're having ice cream at this famous ice cream shop and you're thinking about getting plumbing here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's so from a website building point of view, because of course websites.ca always approaches things like that. I'm just thinking, how does this affect the user experience? Because your website menu sounds like it's getting huge. Are these actually on the main? Are these displayed in the main menu? All these sub pages? Or are they basically going to be hidden?
Well, it depends on how your menu is. If you have the sub menu items, but typically we just focus on the top level pages on the menu.
Got it.
Locations, it depends on how many locations, but we're also not going to link to the neighborhood pages on the menu. It would just be the main cities. So, Winnipeg, where I am right now, is kind of a bad example because it's really one main area. There's not many other metro areas around. But if you're talking about Vancouver or something like that, you might have a locations tab on the menu and it says Vancouver, Burnaby, Richmond, Surrey, Coquitlam, etc.
Yeah. And so the listeners have to understand that there's different customer journeys depending on how users come into the website. So when we're talking about these sub-location pages or sub-service pages, that's going to help with SEO, like you said, but somebody might actually search something where they come into that let's call it a hidden subpage through a Google search. And now they're in the ecosystem of the website and they're clicking around. But sometimes the website owner is thinking, the website owner often just thinks, well, someone will first come to my homepage, right? Then they'll go here, then they'll go here. But you're setting up all of these different entry points and customer journeys. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say that's exactly accurate. And, for the location stuff, typically I don't think there's much search volume for someone looking for the service plus the neighborhood, but every so often there are. And we rank those pages as well because no one's really going after those words. They're going after the service plus the main city. Nice. So we get traffic to those pages, but we're doing it also for the Google Maps rankings. Like I told you at the beginning, we used to use the shortcut, which was just putting keywords in the name, and it worked really well. And now Google is kind of taking away that shortcut. And so we need to give it a lot more signals. And some of the signals are exactly what I mentioned, just having those pages on a site, showing Google your service areas, matching that to the Google business listing as well.
Right. Yeah. So you're creating an asset of all of these obvious, in the case of locations, obvious neighborhood signals. And there's like a cluster of different signals that are showing Google, yes, this is the right area. So that's really interesting.
And you can even get a step further into it. Some things right now that are going through the SEO community are giving Google signals through driving directions. So if people are actually requesting directions to the business from a different area, especially an area that's mentioned on your site, and driving to the location, it's showing Google that people are willing to, use that business from a neighborhood that's not in its proximity. So those signals are also really powerful.
Interesting. And then, of course, if you're writing out driving directions, you can sneak in major landmarks and stuff in the instructions.
Exactly.
This is quite a rabbit hole a copywriter could go down. I like it. So you obviously, this is your business. This is your specialty. So you're doing lots of testing and you're on the ground seeing what works and what doesn't for clients. But I wonder for the listeners who can't devote, obviously that much time and effort into it, could you recommend a few resources that they could read or follow to keep up on Google algorithm changes?
Google algorithm changes, I honestly wouldn't recommend anything, to be honest. I feel like that is a rabbit hole that it's just not worth going down. I mean, you have your main providers like Search Engine Journal or Search Engine Land, and I feel like they're always thinking that the sky is falling.
Yes.
So yeah. I'm not really part of that SEO community. I don't even know when there are algorithm changes, to be honest. It's just not part of my, I don't know. It's not part of my daily worries. We've never really seen a huge drop. We just keep on doing things that seem to be working for us. And, I keep my head down and continue to get results. I think if we saw some huge drops in traffic, then I would be more concerned about that. I would say the one place that I actually found a lot of value recently is this guy named William Jones. He has a program called Rank Fortress. I've been part of it for a few years now. He's just salt of the earth guy and no BS. He'll say, he'll say what he means. He'll tell you what he thinks. And it seems like what he's doing has been working for him. And so a lot of these tactics that I've been talking about today with location pages and things like that, I've gotten from him.
Interesting. So is that just something that you read, or do you participate in mastermind groups with other SEO guys and you guys sort of compare notes?
There are live calls if you want to take part of that. Otherwise, everything's just pre-recorded on the kind of like an online program.
Interesting. It's funny that you mentioned that about trying or not following what the algorithm articles say, because a couple of years ago, we were getting bombarded with stuff about page load time. And I did a bunch of experiments with local web businesses, and it didn't matter at all. No. But of course, as soon as you like run an e-commerce business that's international selling t-shirts, for sure, a quarter of a second load time makes a difference in sales. And it occurred to me, and again, maybe you can shed some light on this, that a lot of the articles that are on the internet that are easy for us to click and read are not written for small businesses. They're written for really rarefied niche stuff, like I said, like crazy e-commerce stuff, and the local small business owner doesn't really have to worry about that type of thing.
Oh, 100%. I agree. For most of the clients that we work with, these small business owners, service-based businesses, the maximum amount of pages they're going to have on the site maybe 50.
Yeah.
They're not dealing with 50 million pages. If you're dealing with 50 million pages, then there are things that you need to worry about, like indexing issues, because Google is taking a lot longer to index pages. And if you have 50 million pages, that's a really big deal. But if you have 50 pages, less of a big deal, right? So I would agree. I would say that business owners shouldn't, spend too much time reading up about this stuff, because the thing is, most people write content just for the sake of writing content, or because they have something to say, or they have a blog that they need to keep up with and stuff. They're just looking for topics to write. Mm-hmm. Some of the times it's good content. Most of the time it's just they're just trying to get something out there into the ecosystem. and I wouldn't, I wouldn't take too much insight into it.
It's clickbait. What I would suggest people do instead is to hire more hot leads. And if they want to do that, Daniel, what would be the best way that they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can reach me at daniel@morehotleads.com, or go to morehotleads.com and fill out a application form to work with us, and I would be back in touch. Definitely mention that you heard me on the podcast, so I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
That's awesome. And it's obviously not just SEO. You guys you're clearly talking about helping with building websites, reorganizing websites, pay-per-click, right? Let me know if I left anything off there.
Ads and email marketing as well.
Beautiful. Okay. Daniel, I really appreciate you coming on again. And I feel like every time you come on, I learn a ton of stuff. So selfishly, I'm going to just keep having you back on every couple of months because it keeps me very sharp. So thank you.
Looking forward to the next one.
If you're not satisfied with your current website or the service you get from your provider, you can switch to websites.ca for free and get a great support team behind you. Just visit business.websites.ca. That's BUSINESS.websites.ca, or email Ryan directly at ryan@websites.ca.
Thanks for listening, guys. Catch you next time.